Hello everyone, welcome to podcast number 3 on ELP Current Ed YouTube channel. I'm here with my co-host Holly Harrington. I'm Hallie Fish. I'm sorry. And then we have guest Gabby Harrington as well.
No!
Holly. Okay, anyway, so today we're going to be talking about different, we're going to be talking about curriculums, I guess, in general, and I'm going to start with, how we deal with teaching styles and different teaching styles, how there's types of learners in classrooms and what would just be most ideal in curriculums, that type of sense. And then the new math curriculum, which was implemented, at the high school, 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And then the ideal classroom and, what behaviors should be, are appropriate in the classroom, what will enhance the learning environment, all that good stuff. So let's start with curriculum. Okay, so I did some research on this. I learned about some different types of instructions, which is the first one. The first one is direct instruction. It's probably one of the most common out of all of different types of instructions. And that means that the teacher tells you the procedure, and then you practice it, you drill it. So the teacher will be like, hey, 2 + 2 is 4, now practice that. And then you just write it down a bunch, I don't know. And so that's direct instruction. Indirect instruction is when the teacher will give you a problem and you'll try to solve the problem with a group of students and try to just learn problem-solving skills by doing that on your own or with a group of students. So then you experience it and it'll help improve your logical thinking and group participation skills. Experiential learning is usually more effective with younger students. Field trips are an example. Independent study is where work is completed by students on their own. Examples are homework, individual projects, all those types of things. And then interactive instruction is materials taught through games and social games and stuff like that, fun activities in the classroom. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so as Hallie was saying, with direct instruction, that's basically what you've been doing pretty much since elementary school. But now, 2 years ago, I think was the time you gave, was when they started to use, this indirect instruction. And that has been a controversial topic for many people and what their preferences really are for that.
Mm-hmm. As far as, which types of instruction are best for the classroom, I mean, that's kind of hard to say, just because direct instruction, although we've pretty much been doing that for most of our life, is probably more appropriate for, teaching the facts and teaching what is.
I feel all of these are kind of, all the different types of instruction can be in different class types, So it's indirect instruction, that's something we've used in math. Well, direct instruction is more focused towards classes history and things like that, where it's you need to know the facts.
Yeah. And then, but history can also incorporate interactive instruction, debates and stuff like that.
That's another thing too.
Experiential learning, I believe, is probably best appropriate for science, or at least in my experience.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
And then independent study, I feel that's usually only homework you do in every class, but things individual projects and stuff, it seems that's less common than group projects, I think, from what I've seen. And it's even getting the chance to just have an independent study, as an actual project, usually doesn't come much, only in classes like ELP.
Yeah, which is what I'm doing this podcast for, actually.
So, Hallie, what are your opinions on independent study, then? Tell us your independent study.
I very much enjoyed ELP as a class because of the independent study and exploring what you might be interested in. It's really helped me to, find what types of things I could be doing when I'm older and stuff like that, and what kinds of things I enjoy, and all that good stuff. And I feel if we had the resources, as in, if we had a personal teacher for everybody, and we had the supplies and money for each student to have their own track, I feel that would be an ideal way of teaching people. But obviously we do not have the resources or money to do that, you know.
So I feel that's a special thing then, when you get the chance to do that in a class. Okay, so do you guys have a specific type of instruction that you'd prefer? Like, I don't know. I just know, like, for myself, I'm the kind of person that, like, I'm both an auditory learner, so I learn best from, like, listening to things, you know?
Yeah, there are 3 types of learners.
Yes.
Auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. Auditory is hearing, visual is sight, and kinesthetic is touch. So.
And yeah. So I would say, like, from that, like, direct instruction is, like, best for me because, like, just getting to learn it and then apply it on my own, I feel like I like that a lot. Do you guys agree?
I'm more of a hands-on type of person. I need to put it in action for it to stick in my brain. Like, kind of with driving, the more you do it, the better you get and stuff. Basically, practice. So basically writing notes down and stuff more than once, even though I don't do that.
Good.
When I have done that, I've definitely gotten better scores on tests, even though it may not be fun, and it's probably going to take up a good bit of your afternoon after school. Definitely writing things down, whether you're that kind of learner or not, just because, you know, your brain kind of, it gets put into the short-term memory, and then that helps with long-term memory.
Yeah. So would you say you're a visual learner as well? Like,
to an extent.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I can be, you know, watching, maybe with, like, sports or something, watching somebody else do it, I can copy better. But with things like math, I have to have somebody, like, usually help me step by step, and it's really hard to go along with the class, you know, because usually the people in your class are there because they can keep up with it. I mean, I can, but, you know, I need more of that, like, individual person helping, like, being like, you need to do this, you need to, like, add or subtract that. But
so
yeah.
you like more one-on-one learning?
I don't say I like it, but I need it more.
So that's what you need.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, you can be all 3 of these if you really want to. Like, honestly, I'm probably most dominant in the auditory learning section, but I'm also a very visual learner. I would say those are both very strong. But I'm not very kinesthetic. I don't
I totally
learn
agree.
by doing things unless I'm put in an entirely new environment. Like, I mean, if I do an experiment in science, I'm not necessarily going to use that on a test as my first priority, but if you put me on a field trip, I will learn that way, definitely.
I just feel like I always just want everything to just be explained, so that's another thing with just, like, how I learn best.
Like, I want to know what the plan is.
Yeah,
like,
I want to hear everything beforehand. I don't want to, like, just be, like, thrown into a situation. That's why, like, indirect instruction kind of, like, freaks me out sometimes, because it's like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know how to do this at all, and that just, like, because as an auditory learner, I want to hear all of that information first, before I just get thrown in.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. Like, that's where indirect instruction is kind of an uncomfortable situation
and
for me.
that's one of the reasons why, like, a lot of people did not prefer that type of curriculum, and, like, the school implementing it is because they don't like being thrown into that. They want to hear things first.
The math curriculum, But, so, yeah, that's kind of, like, where it all is, with, as long as as far as instruction and, like, learning styles go, and, you know, you wish it could be personalized to you, but it can't be.
That would just take too much time. Like, everybody
too many
gets
resources, too much time.
Everybody gets one person. Like, I know at our school, there's, you know, the classroom that's in the library. That's by the computer lab. I was supposed to go in there as a one-on-one thing. Like, there's only one teacher in there, but, I mean, that class, it's not necessarily a class. It's designed for one-on-one. Like, you can take your time with everything.
I didn't even know we had that. That's
I was supposed to do that because I'm assuming many ADHD students go in there because, I mean, he can walk you through it. Even with math, like, if the teacher tells me you need to do this, this, and this, I need to see it written down in front of me, or else I'm going to be confused and insecure about the steps that I'm going to do, and I will not want to participate in the group project and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would just, I mean, as much as we would all probably like to have, like, an individual person, you know, like, walking us through our school day and stuff, it, you know, it's kind of unrealistic, but that would be really, really neat.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a thing, too. Like, if you're not interested in the topic, then where's your motivation?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the problem
these
with,
days,
most students who don't have motivation.
Yeah. These days, I mean, for me, I've been told, like, if I don't have motivation, like, personally, then the motivation would be graduating, having a life after high school, and things like that. And for a lot
that's what should motivate
of
students.
people that are just not they don't
have
school,
a plan, you know?
They just, I mean, that's not it for them. They need to get something that they want to achieve and, like, let that set them.
I feel like a lot of the times students just don't know what they're going to do, so they don't really feel like trying. And I wish that there was more education on this. Like, I mean, throwing us into this I have a plan thing is not going to cut it for most students.
I feel.
It's
like,
just a computer thing, and it's cookie cutter, and it's for everybody, and it's really not personalized.
Yeah.
Because what they gave me is nothing of what I want to do with my life, ever.
Yeah. I mean, if they really sat you down and said, what do you like to do at home, you know, and they say, oh, I like to play video games, like, oh, do you like computers a lot? I love computers. I know how to use computers really well. Then you could definitely come up with something, like, and recommend classes to that person, and they would probably enjoy those classes a lot more.
Here's a crazy thing. Okay, so what I feel like to get people motivated, this seems, like, really silly, but, like, in 6th grade, BizTown,
that was so
this
much
sounds
fun.
really weird, but it's like I knew like what I wanted to do for that, and it's just that was kind of something that kind of like
you were playing life. Like,
I would love to do BizTown again. I do BizTown like every day.
It definitely motivated me.
It's a great opportunity to put you into real life.
Okay, but here's the thing though, like real life is nothing like that.
Well, then you
like
put
it
in Finance Park,
motivated me
Finance
like
Park, man.
hardcore to want to be an adult.
You sad person. Okay. Finance Park was all about like taxes though, so
I don't even
really
remember that because I did not like it and I probably went in debt.
Yeah, see, exactly. Like, if you're
life.
Not interested in it, you're not gonna enjoy it. Like,
I sound so on my children.
Okay, anyway, moving on.
Unrelated note.
That
sounded terrible.
It's okay.
At Finance Park.
Can you not?
Moving on.
Sorry.
To
all good.
This whole instruction thing, like, I feel like our education is just almost flawed in that respect because I feel like it's not preparing us for the future when it needs to be. Like, for example, like, learning in biology this year, like, yeah, we learned about cells and stuff like that, but then they don't say, oh, but scientists in the future can specialize in this, and you can consider going into genetics and all of this stuff. Like, they don't say that. They just kind of say scientists. And you're like, ooh, these mysterious scientists.
It's like, I feel like if all teachers, like, some point in their curriculum stated something like, if you were interested in this class, you know, there's these jobs that you can choose, you know?
Like, this is the major you do in college and stuff like that. And I feel like that would
motivate students.
Yeah, definitely. And
I would definitely enjoy that.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be a really good thing to have in all that stuff. But we can talk about that later on in the podcast when we're talking about the ideal classroom.
Yes.
So, moving on to the math curriculum, Gabby and I went and talked with a math teacher at Bendorf High School today, and she kind of explained to us what this curriculum was, and, like, kind of the whole motive behind it and why it was being implemented and stuff like that. And so basically the curriculum is where the book will present a problem to you first, and you use your own problem-solving skills, and you are with a group of people most often, or most likely, to solve the problem before you learn the procedure on, like, what is, like, done in math. So most of the problems are usually, like, experiential. Like, it'll say, oh, if this tower is this tall and it's this far away from this other tower in the ground, stuff like that, figure out. I don't know where I'm going with that. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I'm saying, like, that would be, like, a common thing for an architect to do or something like that, maybe, if you were planning to build a tower in the middle of it. And the curriculum is supposed to point out these problems so you can remember that problem when you're testing and kind of go through it all so you're not stuck if you don't remember how to do the procedure, like, something like that. And it's all just based on, like, they want you to experience and understand it before you
learn the procedure.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I can definitely understand where the curriculum is coming from.
It sounds like a great idea, but it's not very good.
I think that,
in my opinion.
I mean, in my experience, I have not had a very good experience with the curriculum, but I totally understand where the curriculum is coming from and how it can be successful for some types of learners, you know?
But for most...
I'm not one of them.
Yes.
It's just been hard with the transitioning, for us at least, being in 7th grade and learning the direct instruction way of doing math and stuff like that, to suddenly move to this group indirect instruction way of learning math. That was just really hard because it felt like nobody knew what they were doing, and we didn't have a plan. We didn't know what was going to happen next. We were just learning random things and had to put them all together at the end.
It seemed like nothing really fit together. At first, it's like, okay, I know the answer to this problem, but I don't know how I figured it out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of do random stuff, and then there's an answer. Didn't learn
anything. I said this when we were talking to the teacher at lunch, but I've definitely heard from multiple students that they definitely feel like the curriculum has hindered their creativity with it, definitely, because, like, in middle school, if we got the answer correct, but it was different, slightly, whether it was slightly different or completely different, like the method that we used, they didn't care. We got it. We know how to do it. You know, but now, that's not the way it is. And usually, I mean, I guess it depends on the teacher. The teacher could either be like, okay, well, you did get the correct answer, but you didn't use it correctly, and that's what we're, you know, wanting to do is have you learn the correct methods.
Why that happens?
But I think
that happens because we don't know what we're doing.
I mean, like, Holly and I have been in geometry for the past year, and I don't know if geometry just clicks better with me, because I like geometry, but, I think that the book has definitely allowed us to, like, well, probably our teacher more has definitely allowed us to, like, choose what kind of procedure we want to do, and as long as, like, the procedure is relatively close to being correct and we get the answer right, we're able to apply it, then we're good. Which, honestly, I think it might depend on the teacher.
I agree with you. My freshman year teacher, I think that was the first year that they introduced the curriculum, and the poor lady, she did just not know. She just printed off a packet before class. Like, I remember her almost every single day walking into class, you know, like, getting the papers in order, and she would just read off of that. The class, I mean, most of the class, they knew just because they were probably very much smarter than me. That was not correct grammar.
Very much smarter than me.
But overall, we could see that she just did not get it, so we didn't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that was true for our 8th grade, Algebra 1 teacher. Like, I feel like he was really trying to help us as a class, but the book was so different and new that it was almost as if he didn't know what the next step was. He didn't know, like, what was going to, like, when it was all going to fall together either. So he was almost in the same position as the students, which, I mean, I feel for him because that was hard for everyone.
I feel bad for all of those teachers because I, would say that my teacher kind of got a little more of the handle of how to do it when I was in 8th grade and they first implemented this. But I still feel like it was just kind of confusing at first for everyone. Everyone was just kind of, like, shocked and, like, didn't really understand this new way. And, like, even since then, like, still people don't really fully get it and get a handle on it, especially if you're in a class, since, like, you're in groups in this, and you're in a class and the people in your class or in your group don't help very much. It's, like, it can just be very problematic easily.
Yeah. I mean, especially, how you were talking about, the team test.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate that because I'm an awful test taker, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like I'm cheating because they say the answers, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
and you're not, like, learning anything?
Yeah, and, I mean, great, I got a good grade on the test.
On that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like math is definitely not something that should be a group project. I feel like it should be completely independent.
Definitely, I mean, I guess it's okay for when you're, like, working on something, like, a problem or multiple from the book, but when it comes to tests, that's a personal thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's math, you know, and everybody's going to be going at their own pace, especially me. I'm slow with math.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I question myself, and I'm pretty sure others do too, and I go back multiple times and, you know, stuff like that. And then, I mean, I have to remember how to use that dumb calculator and all the different equations for it. Yeah. But I definitely think that that's a big flaw in the curriculum with teams because, I mean, it's so easy to feel like you're cheating,
it's
you
like,
know?
And especially with the math class that Hallie and I are in and have been in this year, it's just that, like, we have a class where most people don't care about math. And it's just, like, and it seems sometimes as if, like, on the team tests, like, at the beginning of the year, like, now we don't really do team tests with, like, groups that were assigned, because, like, for the second semester, we've kind of just been a little more loose. But, like, first semester in our groups, at times, it, like, kind of seemed like those people were just kind of along for the ride and not really doing anything or participating in the team test or in any problems at all. They just kind of sat there and didn't help. And so I feel like that's definitely a problem, is, like, when you have those classes and you're trying to learn, but the people around you just don't really care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely just a problem when, like, your team wasn't helping you. You didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
and
so it was a cycle of confusion, pretty much.
And then you'd, like, get, like, a bad grade on the test. Mm-hmm. And, well, actually, last year, in 8th grade, the teacher would choose at random whose ever test he was going to grade. And most of the time, the people in our group would not pay attention to the rest of the group, and they wouldn't write down the same answers, and we'd end up getting, like, 15 out of 20 when I ended up, like, actually getting, like, 18 out of 20 on my personal test in the group, you know, which was really frustrating. But I think that is mostly solved and personalized to the teacher. But, yeah.
I've really enjoyed my math teacher for this year just because... Like, really, because he doesn't fully do what they want them to, like, what they want us to do for the curriculum.
Don't say that.
Well, no, but I just mean, like, he does explain things for us well, is what I'm saying, is that he doesn't just, like, kind of throw stuff at us, which I like. It's just, like, he wants us to succeed, and he wants us to understand. He isn't just, like, throwing problems at us and hoping we get them right.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think most of it was just a transition of the whole thing. That was the issue,
rather
than the curriculum itself. I just feel like
I agree.
It was bad. It was bad timing for our grades, and it was bad. It was a bad transition just in general. But other than that, I don't really have a problem with the curriculum and its motives. I just feel like it could have been placed better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just don't like it.
Yeah. But,
there are still some flaws, and there will be.
You know,
always.
but I think all curriculums, there's going to be flaws, because no curriculum's perfect.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect for every student,
you know,
exactly.
Everybody's different, so they're going to learn different, and
Okay, so moving on to the, I just called this topic the ideal classroom, which is a broad subject, but...
Good one.
It's where I'm kind of talking about, like, what a teacher needs to be doing in order for students to get along well in the classroom, what students need to be doing in order for the class to get along well, and, like, in order to make a positive learning environment, and what we can do to improve those things, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'll just start off by saying that, like, one thing that's super important in, like, any class is that, like, I feel you should know each other. You know, I feel like at the beginning of every class, like, teachers try to do an icebreaker and stuff, but that's not always
it
very...
doesn't work.
Yeah. It's just, like, I feel like you definitely need to get to know your class.
Yeah. You know, I mean, with icebreakers, there's going to be lots of kids that are going to be nervous just about talking about, you know, their favorite activities, even, you know, their pets or something like that, you know. I definitely even get nervous about that. But definitely making it a comfortable environment, because that would probably make it easier for them to feel like they can ask questions, and that I know for me...
And you can actually start learning productively.
Yeah. I know for me, like, if I feel comfortable in the class, I will comment more. I will ask more questions openly, and that helps me learn better.
Yeah. You want to know the students and the teacher. Like, I feel in my advisory, like, we did an icebreaker. That didn't help at all. Like, usually in advisory, I just kind of sit there.
Yeah.
It's, like, because I don't, like, know everyone in my advisory, and I don't know my teacher very well. And so it just kind of seems awkward most of the time. And so that's one of the things that I, like, why I haven't enjoyed advisory very much this year, is because I haven't really had that connection, which I feel is just so vital to learning, like, well, and doing, and being productive, and being a good student.
I mean, I think teachers should be really relational with the students, because honestly, at high school level... although high school students are not adults yet, they're to that point where they can, like, converse with an adult,
and they want to be treated like level. An adult.
Yeah,
you know?
And, like, I mean...
as an equal.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's where you'll most effectively get your students to learn, because you'll be able to talk to them at, like... a level that is easy for both the student and the teacher. And it just causes problems when a teacher, treats students as if they're, like, way younger than what they are.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the classes that I enjoy the most, you know, especially my French class with Madame Conrad, is just because she really makes it, like, a big deal to, like, know us better and know what we like to do. And that's why I enjoy that class the most, is because I know the people in that class, and I know her, which creates, like, a base where I don't feel uncomfortable in the class, so I can freely ask questions and, like, really just learn to my full ability.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if teachers can try their best to, like, act like they've known you for a long time, definitely, you know, like, asking, not exactly asking the whole class, like, how did your weekend go, because that takes up time, but, you know, like, just here and there commenting, you know, like, oh, so-and-so's like this, or, you know, just, like, goofing around a little bit, but in a professional way.
Don't make the class super serious,
just
which is how I feel in advisory.
Like, don't be necessarily, like, a friend, you know, but friendly, and make them feel comfortable, like, oh, hey, I am kind of goofy about this, but you're making a joke about it in class, so I'm comfortable with it, and I'm comfortable talking to you.
And I mean, for students, I feel like it's hard for students sometimes to, like, take that as a, we still need to be serious in class during class time, but I feel like...
But that's always going to be a problem, really.
Yeah, I feel like students also need to behave themselves, obviously. Like, of course.
That's always going to be an issue.
Yeah, true. But, I mean, I feel like teachers who are really educated definitely have that effect on students, and you end up learning more from the class than you thought you'd ever would, you know? Like, some of my teachers this year have been super educated, and I've almost remembered everything from that class, you know?
Definitely.
And just the respect that goes along with, like, seeing, like, oh, you are a very smart person, and you know what you're talking about. I'm going to take a lot from this class because it seems what you're saying is important, you know?
Definitely. Do you guys have anything else for, like, your ideal classroom?
I mean,
like, one thing we talked about was, like, behavior. Is something that you said, like, behavior of teacher, behavior of students.
Yeah, and then I think that like, as far as the classroom and, like, stuff in the classroom goes, I feel like the walls, like...
Definitely. That's
Windows.
a huge thing. No, it's not.
Windows.
It doesn't sound weird at all. Like, yeah, I'm the student that I feel most comfortable in a class with windows.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes me feel like it's a brighter, cheerier place, you know?
Yeah.
So if a place, like, literally, it's important to have decorations in your room and to have
and cool
windows
ones, not
and
just
lighting
like the
and
cookie
things.
cutter ones that every single
Yeah.
math teacher has or every single English teacher has.
Yeah, you know?
English
Like
teachers
shoot for the
sometimes
stars
struggle.
or something like that. Like,
Yeah, that one I've seen
we've
a
been
lot.
seeing that since kindergarten.
Yeah.
Or the humankind be both. You see that one everywhere. It's a great message, but it's just like I feel like being in a unique classroom or a classroom with windows, like I love my favorite classroom is Mrs. Aaron's. Like just like physically her classroom, because she has the whole wall of windows.
Yeah.
She has a lot of cool stuff around her room, like not like cookie cutter posters and things. She has a lot of cool stuff, and it's just like in that class, I feel like it's a good learning environment then because of that, because it just feels kind of like the class has character, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, I like
like a
Mr.
house.
Resner's room because it has a bunch of superheroes on the...
Mr. Resner.
On the walls.
Mr.
Resner's
Isaac's room
needs
is really
to work,
cool
but
because he's got his
superheroes are
guitars.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
stuff.
Mr.
Like
Wilming's
Mr. Wilming's too,
Yeah.
Mr. Oh,
It's pretty great. And then, so definitely stuff like that, like just making a positive environment with what you put on the walls with, like, that shows your, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, and
The
definitely the
physical
wall
class.
color, too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like...
Like, don't leave the generic, like,
We've had
gross,
enough of the
like,
white.
whitey beige color.
Yeah.
Because that just kind of makes it seem, like, any
Like a
form of, like,
prison?
a white kind of, it feels like a hospital, you know, like, sterile.
Yeah.
I want to feel comfortable in a class.
Not
I feel-
sterile.
yeah.
You know?
I feel like blue
Yeah.
would be...
Blue would be a nice color.
Rainbow.
Or, like, purple's a calming color.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
quite a bold
That'd be
choice,
great.
but
And
it's a calming color.
another thing that I find more of an issue is bullying, and not just like threatening somebody, but
Moving
just
on, Gabby.
rude.
That was an interesting
But just
another
rude
thing.
comments and stuff. I wish teachers would feel more comfortable calling a kid out when he needs to be called out, or when she needs to be called out about comments, and not just comments to another person, but comments about an inappropriate topic that could trigger somebody, like talking about depression or something like that.
Yeah.
Things that
Yeah.
are for your counselor.
You know, these are things people should already know. You should already know to be kind and to be sensitive to things. You know, that's just a problem with people's behavior, but teachers, it's like their responsibility to call students out on things like that.
Yeah,
and
I
to-
think that teachers need to feel, I feel like they don't feel comfortable with that, like,
Yeah.
maybe they think, oh, maybe if I say this to them, you know, that'll scare them and it'll go too far. Like, no, maybe they need to be a little scared, like, oh no, you're gonna give them a detention, you know?
I rarely see referrals or detentions happen in
Rarely,
class.
like, I hear all the time, like, threats, but rarely do I see those threats in action. Like, bullying is a big deal. Like, okay, in the classroom you cannot do really anything about cyberbullying because you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
You know?
But real life bullying.
But if you think
real life
that
bullying.
somebody's being rude to somebody else in class, say something, you know?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I feel like our desks just everywhere are bad. Like,
We need
just
bouncy chairs.
Okay, one thing that I find important is, like, the chair, how the chair is and how the desk is. Like, in Mr. Resner's room, his desks and his chairs, I do not feel comfortable sitting.
None of
'cause
the
I,
chairs are
feel,
good
like,
in the
kinda
entire
restrict-
school. Like,
yeah.
my back is bad, and
Uh-huh.
the chairs make my back feel pretty
Yes.
bad. Like, I'm just saying, like,
And the alignment of how the desks are set up. Like, there needs to
That's
be a sense of
important.
community and unity, because that, I mean, you know, just
I like
just
group
feeling like you're
desks.
all one big team will probably help a lot with making the class feel comfortable.
And I know, like, every teacher kind of has their own, like, style and things, but it's, like, I feel like most students really do prefer, like, groups.
Like,
just because, like,
yeah.
not only for the social aspect, which is, like, good, of course, but it's also, like, if you have questions and stuff, you have people, and it's also...
I really do like groups.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say, like, groups, like, clusters, but roundness, you know?
Round desks.
Like,
Yeah.
not like where you're only...
Round desks.
Or hexagon desks, because
Yeah.
they take up the least amount of
Hexagon.
space.
Like-
yeah. Learned that in math.
Yeah.
in German class, you know, where you may be facing somebody else, like, not like that, just you know, like you can see more
Yeah,
than
I
two
wanna be able
people
to
in your
see
view,
things.
and
Yeah.
you can just
Do
there's
what
a
you can to
sense
find that.
of that, and
Or I like
yeah.
Sometimes when like classes will, I don't know why people, for like things like presentations and things, you know, or some acting out of skit, like when you kind of like make a U shape, it's like that's something that I like, things like that.
I like that.
Because
That's what I was
those are
talking
good days,
about.
like for things like debates and stuff, like teachers usually do something like that, but I feel like that's great for any time because I feel like I want to see everyone, you know?
Yeah, I definitely feel
Feel more connected.
comfortable. And like with the cluster groups, like for me, if I have a question and like maybe there's one other person in my group because everybody else is sick, like I feel like it's not my place to call out to one of the other groups because they've got their own thing going on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, yeah.
You become pals with your group. That sounds kind of weird.
Like-
but it's also a good, like, opportunity to get to
Like
know your
cliques.
class, like I was talking about.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh.
Cliques. Like,
Yeah.
they kind of turn into cliques, especially when, you know, like, there's already friends in there.
That's why
and
it's
then they get placed
an
together.
important thing is switching your seating chart is something that
Random-
teachers need to do at like a time. Like I've had classes where in the semester that we've had it, I feel like we've only switched seats like twice in a semester, and that's not something very good because especially if you're stuck at a part of, like
You're spending 90
I
minutes
only
a
like
day
being
in
at the
class.
front of the class. I only like being at the front of the class because I just get less distracted, and that's where I just feel I learn best. And so when I'm at the back of the class for like 3 months or so, that's not good. It's not good for my learning, and it's also like
change of scenery, change
yeah,
of where you
it's
go.
important. It's
you know.
and also that's helping you to become more friendly with your class because you're cycling through more people. You know, 1 month I'll be sitting here with Hallie and we'll become buds, and then the next month I get to become buds with Gab. Yeah, Gabs.
That's my name.
And then, yeah.
It's something that teachers need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, can I speak on physical things like objects?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Sure.
Okay, I think that schools should supply each classroom with multiple little doodads and things like squishy balls because
They're called
whether or
couches.
not you
Yeah,
can
a
you
couche
not,
ball.
can you not right now?
Okay.
Because
Sorry.
there's probably going to be more than one kid in your class with a learning disability, and like with ADHD, if I can move
Yeah.
something in my hand and it doesn't make a sound, I guarantee you I will learn at least 10% better.
Mhm.
Like, it will engage me. I
Yeah.
will not, like, I don't, believe it or not, I'm not going to be focusing on what my hand's doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
I
have to
totally
move.
from
And-
experience. I had a 4th grade teacher, and she like had couche balls in her room, like in the corner. That's what they're called, okay? And so every day you can like come and get like a couche ball. Stop laughing. And
it
anyway,
just sounds weird.
so it's just like that was something that was so like great that year that I had that teacher because I just felt like it made our class like just a lot more focused. you
Yeah,
know?
and honestly,
that's something so important.
it bothers me when teachers get mad at you for drawing because drawing helps me
Yeah,
focus a lot.
Definitely. Or when you're like,
Exactly.
something that I do is like, if I'm like starting to zone out or if I'm getting tired or something, you know, instead of zoning out or falling asleep or something, you know, I'm going to like start doodling or something. Or especially like on good notes and things.
Yeah.
It just like helps me to keep focused
Yeah.
and be like, this is what I'm looking at, this is what I need to
Yeah.
do.
But you're hearing it, you
Yeah.
know? And I mean,
Especially as an auditory
it bothers
learner.
me when
It's a
like
good
teachers
thing.
get mad at you for drawing, they get mad at you for having drinks in the classroom,
Or
which
objects, and maybe those objects make sounds like
And-
pens.
especially earbuds. Like, I mean, I understand not having music like while they're teaching the class, but when you can't have music while you're taking a test, or you can't have music while you're doing a worksheet.
Music while taking a test, I get how some teachers probably may think that you're cheating by listening to something.
Yeah.
But here, like, with me,
who takes the time to make something that helps you cheat on it?
that's
though?
what I'm saying.
Here's the answer to question 1. You know, no one's gonna
No,
do that.
okay, but like with me, that drowns out everything else.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, if I hear something from the hallway, which I tend to do that, it'll drown it out. If I even seeing things, it'll drown it out because I've got something calm.
Music is something that I feel is really important
I'm calmed
in
down,
my ideal classroom.
and I'm
Yeah.
there, and definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially my French teacher, she like constantly plays French music, and like the thing about music in a foreign language is that you don't always understand everything. So it's like one thing is like things like that and like instrumental music or really any music just kind of it helps to create like a learning environment that's like very kind of it makes things more upbeat, I feel more focused.
Yeah,
and it
like
just kind of
tapping
makes
your
me feel
feet or
comfortable.
something. It'll get groovy.
And it makes me
or
feel
something.
focused. I just really feel like it's especially important in a class to have like music playing.
Yeah, and
Just really.
I mean, it bothers me when people tell me I can't have earbuds in the hallway. Because, honestly, if I'm like, really mad or if I'm really stressed out and music is calming me down, I don't want someone tearing the earbud out of my ear and yelling at me to to put it away. Because sometimes music is the only thing that keeps me from, like, punching someone in the face.
That's something that I feel teachers need to understand is that music is that's just so important.
It's not a distraction, but more of a focus thing, unless it's like a lecture.
I don't
then
know
it's
why
not
everyone thinks it's a distraction. It
Yeah.
is not.
Including parents. Definitely parents think, like, for studying and stuff, I definitely suggest, like, even if like, the TV distracts you, I highly suggest using music.
I love listening to music while I do homework. It's
like,
so much
I use Pandora,
more
but
focusing.
sometimes I get more distracted on finding the right channel than studying, but
that's why I just listen to albums
and don't
on YouTube in French.
Like, listen to what you
That's
like.
the best.
Don't be like, oh, well, instrumental stuff is like calming.
I like study music
if you
too.
like
Study
loud
music is
heavy
great.
metal, then listen to it.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean,
like,
study music is great though, like, relaxing sounds. I don't know, a lot of people don't like that.
I can't do relaxing
but I really
stuff.
like that because that makes me like
Whatever
Yeah,
relaxes
it's just
you.
important.
yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff is just looked down upon in the classroom when really it isn't bad. It's just a focus thing, And like drawing and all that stuff. I just really think teachers need to lighten up on it sometimes.
I definitely feel like, earbuds in the hallway, like, with a student, that's, like, to teachers the permanent image of a hooligan.
Which doesn't make sense.
Like, when they see that, they're like, they are doing something
Get out of my
naughty.
lobby, you hooligans.
They need to take those out. Now they're fine. Like, I think that teachers need to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, like,
I'm certain I've been called a hooligan because of my earbud.
and also,
Look
this
at that
this
hooligan
doesn't really
over
have
there.
anything to do with music, but, like, you don't gotta snap on people that say a few inappropriate things in class because we're teenagers, and,
yeah, I don't understand why... I mean, I understand, like, how dirty jokes and stuff like that are not appropriate
they
for the
can go
classroom,
to a limit,
but if you're, like saying,
like,
like, light cuss words and stuff, I don't undernd how that's, like, a bad
What
thing.
is a light cuss word?
Like
hell
the
or
H
something.
word.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, like, I mean,
I didn't think you were gonna say it, so I did.
Students are not going to stop cussing in the hallways.
They're not.
It's not really taking away from the environment because it's the environment we live in.
You can yell all you want, but they're probably not going to and I guarantee that half the teachers that yell at us did it then.
And it's not even if it's not offending anyone, if it's not really loud, if it's not like, causing a huge distraction, I don't understand why people will get mad at you. Like, if you're in conversation, you just say like a light cuss word and people get mad at you.
If it's not being distracting too. It's like, I feel like the only time for teachers to kind of enforce things like that, like, don't say that or don't do that, is like if it's being a distraction.
Or if it's being offensive.
Yeah, offensive or a distraction.
Yeah, offensive,
and it's like,
definitely.
It's the same thing with, like, music. If you're not distracting anyone, and it's like doing the opposite of distracting
unless you
then
look
why
like
you're
putting more effort into the music you're listening to,
then that's a point.
Just
but
leave it be,
most people use music responsibly. That sounds kind of weird, but
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, there are some people who don't. You can call them out on that, but I mean, like, it's...
Although, you have every right to, like, tell a kid, like, turn it down if you can hear it clearly.
That's what I'm saying.
Earbuds.
If it's a distraction.
If it's a distraction, then tell them. Yeah, but stuff like that. And honestly, that's just kind of that's kind of what I think definitely will create, like, a better learning environment and stuff like that.
Just being
chill.
Like, I mean, there's an extent to where you can seem like you're not confident. No. like you're comfortable with students, you know, being teenagers, because teenagers, they're in an awkward stage in life. They're most likely going to say quite a few inappropriate things throughout your class. And you can say, like, hey, dude, like, you know,
chill
easy
down.
Chill
and
down.
stuff. But, like, if you're going to crack down on them, then they're going to crack down on you right back. It's going to bite you back.
Yeah.
And they're not going to like you because they're going to probably think that you're old-fashioned and that your class is boring. They're going to go straight.
Teachers need to understand that we are
try
teenagers.
to relate a little bit. You were a teenager.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's just...
And it's a new day and age, you know?
Yeah.
Things are
I
different
think
now.
if everything just chills a little bit, we'll have a
Yeah.
better learning
I
environment.
don't
You
like
need at least
stressful
5 more
environments.
chill. Just a
Stressful
little bit more.
is not good.
Okay, so I suppose that is what makes the ideal classroom in our opinions. And thank you for listening into the podcast. This is podcast number 3. Some announcements. Well, I'm not planning to make another podcast after this unless you guys tell me that you want more, which then I will. But
Yes.
yeah. But if you can leave your feedback in the comments, or if you email me through my school email, then that will be totally fine. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'm Hallie.
And I'm Holly.
And I'm Gabby.
And thank you for listening. Goodbye.